some kinds of things like requesting a permit. And the third thing we're going to show you is how you will use the system, the cities, because you will log on to the system to do some things like approve inspections and review the permits for your agencies. Okay, the first scenario is going to be the public access, and these are the categories that you're going to see. You're going to see the welcome page. You're going to see the help, one of the help. Not all of the help has been built yet because we don't have instructions for using the system, for example, since the system doesn't exist yet. And then you're going to see the contact page where they'll find your phone numbers and email addresses. You're going to see the public can do a search for a permit. They can see a list of permits. The public will be able to look at details about individual permits. And then the general public will have access to the page that lets them ask for an account. They'll be able to register. And then after you see all this, then we'll stop for questions. Okay, this is the welcome page. And at the top, again, it says it's a mock-up. It's for discussion only. This is not a real system yet. But at the top, you see there are some options. They can search for permit, register, help, contact us. On the left, the menu options will change depending on your security. So right now you're seeing everything, but when the security is implemented, you won't, for example, see the options that administrators see. If you're a registered user, you'll have some options, and if you're an agency, a city representative, then you'll have some options. But for the most part, the general public will only see the top, and they'll see the ability to register, the ability to sign on. On the right, there will be a list of the agencies, the list of the participating agencies. And then in the middle, of course, there will be some introductory statements. And these will be dynamic, so they can be changed if it doesn't make sense or if you want to put up special announcements. Right now, it just says welcome. The system is for rooftop solar panel systems. It says you can use the system for residential and low commercial properties. It says you can search for permits. It says you can request new permits. And it also says that you must register if you're going to request a permit. So on the top, we have the agencies. On the bottom, we have partners, Department of Energy and FPL. The should I use this site is something everyone will see, and it looks like this. It's a checklist to help people decide whether or not they should use the system. The checklist is just for their own reference, so they can kind of, it's a mental exercise. First, they need to know, is it a rooftop solar panel? If it's not, then they can't use the system. Is it for residential or low commercial? If it's not, they can't use the system. All of these questions are like that. They have to be able to answer yes to everything in order to be able to use the system. There's a list of the participating agencies because they can only use the system currently if the permit will be for one of these jurisdictions. It has to be on the list of approved systems. We don't have that filled in yet, but if it's a system that's not on the list that we will provide, then they can't use the system. They will have to use one of the pre-approved mounting designs, and we will make a list of those, and we will have those designs available online. But if their installation involves something different, then they can't use the system. To use the system, they also will need to have Adobe Reader installed. They'll need to have a printer. They'll need to be able to use one of these credit cards to pay for the permit. There's a link to the terms and conditions that they'll need to agree to before they can use the system. For contractors, we're reminding them they have to have a valid license and the required insurance, and they have to have certain type of license to use the system. And this could be changed later, but right now it's electrical and solar contractor licenses. So if all of these questions are yes, then it's just a reminder for them, yes, they can use the system. If not, they should contact the appropriate agency because they'll have to go to the counter as they do today. Another thing that the general public can see is the contact page, and it's a very simple list of the participating agencies. So if they have questions about the program, they will contact one of these. And again, it's a mock-up, so you're not seeing actual addresses. These will probably be links to the city websites. This will be the email address that the city representatives provide, and it will show the phone numbers that you all say should be here, as well as the addresses. They will be the public. The general public can also search for a permit. The permit search page looks like this, or it will look something like this. They could choose to search for one particular permit if they know the number. They could search by address. They could see all permits for a particular jurisdiction if they like. They could search by the contractor name or the permit holder name. If it's a contractor, they're searching for one particular job, they could search by the title that they assign to that job if they want. They could search for all their issued permits, all their complete permits, and they could also search by issue date range. One additional option that will be available for the cities is to show permits only if there's a pending inspection request. So that way, at a glance, the cities will be able to see all the pending inspections. We will stop for questions shortly at the end of the section. There's only a couple more things I want to show you before we stop for questions, so if you could hold that thought. On the permit list, it will reflect the selection criteria that was entered. So if you chose one permit number, the permit list would show one permit. The list will show the permit number, which is a link to the detail, the address, the jurisdiction, who holds the permit, the title of the job that was assigned by the contractor, the status of the permit, the date it was issued. This may change, but generally this is how it's looking today. When the public clicks on the link for the permit, they will be able to see all the permit information. In draft form, it's looking like we'll probably show the city logo at the top left, put the agency name at the top, show the permit number at the top, the dates issued, expired, the fees. Below that, it will show who acknowledged the permit at the agency, and later you'll see how when a permit is issued, an email goes to the city clicks a link to acknowledge the fact the permit was issued. So that's what this is, the date and who acknowledged that permit. Then you've got information grouped into sections, information about the contractor, the permit holder, information about the property for the permit, the property owner, general project information, the title they give it, the description they give it, the value of the project, the number of solar panels. There will be one more field to show the kilowatts of the system. And if there's a bonding company, it'll show here as well. Then they'll see information about the solar installation, including the type of roof it applies to, what predefined photovoltaic system design they've selected, and clicking the link would show the actual design. It'll show the name of the engineer who's responsible for that design. And there will be 3 designs for each permit: the photovoltaic system design, the electrical design, the mounting, the electrical panel in the house, the installation design, and then the rooftop mounting system design. So for all 3 designs, they'll be able to see the name of it, the engineer, and then the link to see the actual design image. From this page, only the contractor will have the ability to look at the permit card and the permit document. The general public will not be able to generate a permit card, permit document. So this will be controlled by security. The general public will be able to see the inspections, but only the contractor will be able to actually request an inspection. They could do that here. And at the bottom of this page, this will be a reminder for the contractor that FPL asked us to put on here to remind people that the net metering application is required, and that has to happen before the system is energized. And this language is from FPL. The last thing I believe the public will be allowed to do is ask for an account. So if they've looked at the help and they've browsed the system, they decide they want to apply for permits, they'll click the register button. And the registration page looks like this. It looks like the registration page on a zillion other systems, except for the contractor information, which you'll see as well. They'll type in their name, they'll type in a username, and every field will have a little pop-up help. So it will guide them through the process, hopefully, and tell them what's expected in each field. The first one says just use a short name to identify yourself, a sign-on name. Most people already will be familiar with that. Then their name, address, phone number, an email address, a security question for resetting passwords if necessary, the security answer, and for now, I think we're going to allow requesting permits as a licensed contractor. If we decide to allow homeowners or property owners to request permits later, then they would check that box and not provide contractor information. But right now we're walking through the scenario as a contractor. So a contractor must also provide the name of their company, a qualifier name if there is any, their license number, their type of license, and their insurance information. Once they provide all that information, they'll click the register button, and that will be it. They're going to see a message that says, thank you for registering, but that's as far as they'll be able to get. The message also will say, we'll get back to you in 24 hours or 48 hours, something like that, whatever we decide, with an account. And the message will also tell them that until they get their account, they really won't be able to do anything else. And it'll be to say, thank you for registering. I think at this time we can stop for questions. So the one question up here right now says, are the contractors going to be required to register before applying for a permit? If not, who will verify their license, insurances, etc.? Good question. Absolutely, they must register before applying for a permit, and an email message will be sent. Let me see if I can show you the email message that will be sent. This email message will be sent to the administrator for the system, and someone on this side will receive these messages. It'll say someone has requested an account. When someone requests an account, the administrator will log onto the system, and they'll pull up that account that was requested. They'll review the information, and then they'll decide. They'll have to do their normal contractor authorization process where they check the license, they check the insurance, and once the administrator decides that the person is authorized to issue permits, the administrator will give that permission access and make the account active, and then the administrator will send an email back to the customer who requested the account and say, okay, now you can use the system, here's your password, and they'll have to change their password on the first logon. Okay, I see there are no more questions, so, oh wait, I'm sorry, is there another question? Does the contractor need to submit copies of insurance and license during the registration process, or just fill in the blanks? The system will only require them to fill in the blanks. They're not going to upload copies of any of their documents. The person who receives the request for the account will decide how that will be processed. And I think there are procedures in place today. When someone wants a permit, there are steps that people go through already to determine whether someone is qualified to get a permit. So it will be those same processes that we follow today. So continuing, that was the end of the public access. Unless you have an account, that's all you're going to see. The next section I'd like to show you is how the permitting customers will use the system. They'll be able to sign on, they'll be able to apply for a new permit, and they will be required to provide quite a bit of information for each permit. Then once the permit is in place, they can come back later to request an inspection through the system. And the last thing they can do is change information about themselves, their address, phone number, things like that. And then again, we'll stop for questions. Okay, so if I received an email from the system administrator saying, here's my account, I would go to the sign-in page and I would sign on. This doesn't work today, but it will. If I forgot my password, there will be a link that lets me go to a page to reset my password, or even if I forgot my username, there will be a page that lets me put in my secret question answer and get a new username or